Hey everyone, this is Melissa, and I'm the talkative introvert. In today's episode, I am joined by Kevin Palmieri. I hope that's how you pronounce it right. Okay. He is the CFO, founder, and co-host of Next Level University, a global top 100 self-improvement podcast with more than 1,000 episodes and 600,000 listens in over 125 countries. So thanks, Kevin, for joining me today.
Of course. I don't know if we're going to have the special guest be seen, but we got a puppy in the office, and if there's a puppy in the office, I am in. So I appreciate you having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yeah, I don't record video. I'm not quite there, not sure if I ever will be. I did join like someone else's podcast who does do video, and my RBF was strong. Like, I did not look interested or happy, but I guarantee you I was.
Yeah, I understand. I probably look like an idiot most of the time because I try to keep somewhat of a smile on my face. So I probably look like a smiling idiot. So yeah,
that's what I was kind of trying to do. I would look at myself at the Zoom. I was like, oh, don't forget to smile because you know your face. But, but it's all good. It was like the one. I don't know if I'll do another one if someone asks. Maybe.
Well, lessons learned. Now at least you know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So before I get into it, like I wanted to ask, do you consider yourself? Well, are you? I guess not consider yourself, but are you an introvert, extrovert, or an ambivert, somewhere in the middle?
I would say I'm an introvert. I don't know that people would assume that based on what I do for a quote unquote living and how much I'm on social media and on camera. But yeah, at the end of a really long day, the last thing I want to do is see another human. I just want to go recluse and I want to be alone. So yeah, I would definitely consider myself an introvert.
That is not the answer I thought you would say.
I figured it would be a surprise.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of doing the podcast, I get people are like, wow, you don't seem very introverted because I talk a lot and like I kind of have some energy, like high energy, not as much as like extroverts, but more than the typical introvert, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I was not expecting that when I first met you. When we talked previously, you were very high energy, very like, this guy's, he's a coach and he talks to people all the time. That's literally his brand. But
I think it's just the practice. I mean, in the beginning, well, I think I like to think I had high energy in the beginning, but I was afraid before almost every interview we've ever done. Now it's the reps, right? I've done it so often that I'm not super afraid. But when I do speeches live, I am literally shaking because I'm thinking of all the things that could go horribly wrong and it's completely different. So it's the reps. It's the reps that determine the level of confidence for me. And I've just done this more than almost anything else at this point.
Yeah. It's just second nature now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's comfort. This is my comfort zone in front of the microphone on camera. I'm just used to it. And I've seen myself from every unflattering angle. And I've said a lot of dumb things that I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I couldn't remember that word. So I've gotten a lot of the fears out of the way. I think that helps too.
Yeah. I don't really go back to old episodes. I'm just like, when it's done, out of sight, out of mind kind of situation.
I understand.
So, we did touch on the fact that you do coaching, but what is Next Level University?
So as you were kind enough to talk about in the beginning, it's number one, a podcast. So that's the brand is Next Level University. But below that, we have one-on-one coaching where we help people in business and relationships and life in general. We have group coaching, we have courses, we have retreats, we have live events. What it is at the end of the day is it's a self-improvement company that has decided that no matter where you are in your self-improvement journey or your financial journey, we'll have somewhere for you. If you don't have money, we don't want to say, well, too bad, go somewhere else. You can listen to the podcast or download one of the many free resources we have as well.
So is it safe to say that you're kind of like a life coach?
I do far less of that than I ever have. I really have moved into the podcasting space. So most of my clients, like my personal clients, are early entrepreneurs, business owners, or podcasters. But Alan, my co-host and the CEO, he does a lot of, I would call it peak performance coaching. So it's life coaching, but I would say it's probably to a, and I don't mean it with ego, but probably to a higher level than people would expect, because we've been studying self-improvement every day for a while now. So our ultimate goal is life, love, health, and wealth. So we can help you
Okay.
with your finances, and we can help you with your fitness, and we can help you with your relationship, just because we've studied those things the most.
Okay. So I kind of have a story that I want to share with you.
Please.
It's similar to life coaching, because you're not the first, I know you don't call yourself a life coach, but people in that realm
Mm.
that have reached out, but I'm always kind of skeptical about it.
Mm.
Um, and the reason why is because, well, first of all, what makes you so great to tell me what to do with my life. But also I had this story of a coworker whose daughter wanted to be a life coach. Like that's the career she wanted to go down. And we were the same age, or we are the same age. And but the difference with me and her is that I moved out at 18. I learned all the the adulting, I guess, skills pretty young, like right after high school. And I did all this stuff, and I did live life. I went through college, I graduated, I did start my career and all this stuff, but she's kind of still like, she never moved out. She never lived on her own. Based on like what I know of her childhood, like her parents kind of provided a lot for her and did all this stuff. And I was thinking, well, why would I want advice from you if you haven't even lived life? Like, how can you pursue being a life coach if you haven't even lived life yourself? So I always thought that was kind of weird. Like, I learned from that story that you can go to school to be a life coach and you could take lessons. And so for me, how are you qualified to give advice? I hope that didn't sound
No,
offensive. Okay.
No, you're good. I like it because I think I've only been asked that by one other person ever. And
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And this was like my biggest fear. Somebody DM'd me and said, very similar to you, very respectfully. They said, "Hey, I don't mean this in any negative way, but what allows you, like, what are your credentials where you can be a coach?" And I literally thought about it. I was like, okay, I don't really know. Let me think about it. And I said, well, at this point, I've studied self-improvement every day for the last, I think it was like 3 years at that point. I've done, at that point, I don't know how many episodes it was, but I've interviewed some of the most successful humans on the planet. I have a business that's grossing a good amount of money at this point. I've studied relationships. I used to be a personal trainer, so I understand fitness and health at a pretty deep level. For me, it actually helped me believe in myself more because it forced me to list out the things that I didn't really know that I understood. Now, I would say at this point, I have a podcast with 1,150 episodes, and every single one of those is on holistic self-improvement. I've studied self-improvement quite literally every single day for the last 5.5 years. We have a business that's going to gross $300,000 this year, which is great. I'm very grateful about that. We have a big team. This is what I would say. I have results in life that a lot of people want. I didn't get these results by luck. I understand how to get them. So that means I can usually help people replicate the results that I've gotten to their own level in their own life. I would say that's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, because another thing I was going to argue, not argue, that sounds mean, but because you noted that you studied a lot about self-improvement, but there's a difference of studying something and actually experiencing something.
Yeah.
So what led you to even want to do this kind of work?
I, at a fairly deep level, I've always wanted to help people. So I remember the earliest memory I have of coaching. I mean, I played baseball, so I used to coach the little kids when we would have baseball camps. But after that, I remember that there was a girl that I dated and it didn't work out. I was probably 20, maybe 25 at the time. It didn't work out, or 26. It didn't work out. And she started reaching out to me for relationship advice.
Hmm.
And she was dating somebody else. And she said, "Hey, I know you've been studying relationships. Can you help me?" And that was like one of the first times I ever remembered coaching, but it helped me connect dots that I think I've always wanted to help people at a deep level. I just, number one, had imposter syndrome. I didn't know if I actually could. And number two, I never had a vehicle to do it. So what really happened is I found quote unquote success in my mid 20s. I made $100,000 at a job that I had. I realized that I traded basically an entire year of my life to make that money. Found quote unquote success. Success wasn't what I thought it was. I was actually very, very miserable. And that's when I started figuring out who I was. And I remember thinking, okay, for the last year and most of my life, I'd lived unconsciously. What's the opposite of unconscious? Hyperconscious. And I started a podcast. That's where it all started. I started a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. And it became my goal to become the most conscious version of myself possible. I started interviewing people, much like you and I are doing. We're having a deep conversation. I fell out of love with my job. I fell in love with podcasting. And I ended up shortly thereafter sitting on the edge of a bed debating suicide because I was so far out of, my mental health took a turn. My physical health wasn't good because I was staying up all hours, working too much. And my goal really was, how do I help other people avoid the pains that I have dealt with? Now that I feel like I actually am leading by example and I'm not just talking about it, like I'm really doing it, how do I help other people avoid the pains that I have felt? And I think it really goes back to, and we talked about this in the beginning, our audience is primarily female. As a tattooed, you can't see this if you're listening, but I have tattoos. I'm a bodybuilder. I don't necessarily look like I would attract a demographic of women probably. And I think the reason I did is because my business partner and I were both raised by women. My dad, I didn't know. I didn't meet my dad until I was 27. My business partner's father passed away in a car accident when he was only 2 years old. So he didn't know his dad either. We have seen through our community how much toxic masculinity has hurt people. And that's one of the things that we're really, really, really trying to make sure we never become. And that's why I feel very comfortable talking to audiences of women, because I'm so used to it. I prefer it, honestly, because I can be more of myself. I don't have to pretend I have an ego or I'm the best in the world or whatever. So yeah, I would say a long-winded answer is I've always wanted to help. But when I first started podcasting, I realized that I actually can help in a very unique way based on vulnerability and based on just leading by example. And the fact that you can actually see impact and you can see somebody's life changing, that's the best feeling in the world. That's the most rewarding thing in the world. So that's why.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Because I've always just wondered, like I don't have a lot of experience with people who do this type of work. All I remember, honestly, which is why I was kind of skeptical to even talk to you, because I was like, another life coach, sorry.
No, good.
But I just remember like motivational speakers in high school. I don't know if you get those. Okay. And I just remember like it's the same every year. Like I think we would get one like every year, like in elementary school, middle school, and it's always the same story. This person like went through a tragic accident or went through some traumatic event and then picked themselves up, worked hard, and now they're like millionaires. It's the same cycle. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's not, in my opinion, it wasn't very realistic, and it didn't really teach me anything.
Yeah.
Because all they're saying is like all you have to do is work hard and you can achieve your dreams. Yeah. So I don't know, like, how do you think about that? How do you feel about it?
I am, number one, I don't like being introduced as a life coach, but I would rather be introduced as a life coach than a motivational speaker, because I am not anti that, but I have a fairly deep understanding at this point that the last thing humans need is more motivation. That's not why you're not accomplishing your goals. You're not accomplishing your goals because you have an identity level shift that needs to happen, or you have trauma from your past or whatever. So yeah, I think at one point it was a sexy term. This person's a motivational speaker. They're going to get you going. The problem is motivation is fleeting. Motivation is momentary. Unless you can facilitate some sort of identity level change, you're probably going to be stuck in the same paradigm for most of your life. So I agree 100%. my goal is not to motivate or to inspire. My goal when I do anything is really to get somebody to ask themselves a new question, have a new piece of awareness, and then hopefully take a new decision or make a new decision based on that. But I'm in alignment with that. There's a lot of ways to get motivated. It's what do you do after that? After that is what really matters.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I'm trying to win you over here. I'm trying to win you over.
I know. I'm just a very skeptical person. And that's another reason why I kind of wanted to have you on, because, I want you to change my mind. I want people to change my mind. I think it's important to challenge people. Yeah. And that's kind of why I like talking to other people and talking to them about different ideals, because I don't do that a lot in my personal life, just because I don't really like conflict and I just don't have the energy, Yeah. I'm tired.
Do you ever get nervous of like breaking rapport with somebody on the podcast?
On the podcast? No.
Oh, really? That's so interesting.
The podcast is easy because I don't know you. I don't know where you live. I can't, and you don't know where I live. Right. And
we may never see each other after this.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe we'll talk again. Maybe we won't, because I don't know what you think about me personally. I don't know if you could be like, after the podcast, like, man, she was crap. I would never go on her show again.
I think it's a very interesting perspective where, and from my perspective, a lot of times when I go on shows, people are like gassing me up. So I like this. This is different. It's a real conversation. I think that's valuable. And I think it teaches me a lot about myself too. I don't like having to quote unquote prove myself, because I've been an underdog for most of my life.
Yeah.
But how do you talk nicely about yourself without sounding like an egotistical person? That's something I'm terrified of. So even the fact that you challenged me there is like, all right, let me see how this goes. I was definitely a little bit nervous for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. It's a good challenge.
Yeah. Because what's the point? What's the point of me having you on my show? Because that's what I like, and that's what my listeners like too. They've come up to me, or not come up to me. No one's ever come up to me in public, but they would DM me and be like, I love your show because it's like being in the conversation with you. Like my friends are just talking in the background, or, being in the table with you.
Yeah.
And I just don't see the point of like talking or having this podcast and talking and just being super nice and being like, so this, and this, and like asking all these questions. Like I have questions listed, but I value the conversation. If it's two people, challenging each other and sharing their opinions.
I respect it.
Thanks.
I think there's a part of me, honestly, and I'll be very honest, I think there's a part of me that wishes I had more of that in the beginning. As a podcast interviewer, I was always so afraid to break rapport, to the point where somebody would say something that I wouldn't agree with, and I'd be like, yeah, sure. And I would regret that. I would regret not having the courage to sit up and say, look, that's not real. Like, that's not real. That's not really how it happened, right? So I love it. It's different, and I'm into it.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad. And I was the same way. I just started doing like strangers this year. So at first I was a little nervous, but then the best conversations came out of when I wasn't trying to be, super nice and super polite and super, I am naturally a polite and nice person. Like I try to be respectful as much as possible, but I think we should question everything.
Yeah. Do you feel like this helps you? Is this like a different version of you? Do you feel like this helps you flex not flex, but like lean into certain parts of you that you don't lean into in quote unquote normal life?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. There's work Melissa, there's the Melissa in front of her mom. There's the Melissa, there's different ones. And I think this podcast Melissa is nice because, I may not see you ever again. Yeah. And I can just ask you whatever I want. Yeah. So I think they're different personas based on who I'm around. Because, you're in the States, right? You're in America.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like extremely divided here. It's very politically charged. And, I don't remember a few years ago, my friends being so politically charged, but now it's just, I don't know if it's like social media or what, but it's insane. And so I do have to, walk on eggshells a lot of the times around certain people if I know their beliefs, because not everyone is as open-minded as they say they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it probably is social media. I thought that recently. It was like, I didn't realize, I don't know, 10 years ago were people posting about their political beliefs? I don't know. I don't remember.
Because I remember that being like a no-no. You don't do that.
Right.
But now everyone's like, you gotta share your beliefs or else you don't actually believe them or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a whole thing too. It's like, they're my beliefs. I get to share them if I want.
Exactly.
Right? Like if it's my belief, doesn't that mean it can stay within me if I want it to, if I so choose?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's interesting.
Yeah. Do you have, sorry, I did listen to like an episode, but I think it's just been so long. But do you have people go on your podcast?
So we actually stopped very much very much to, and maybe this will win you over. That's what I'm playing for. I'm gonna win you over by the end of this episode. We were having people on that in front of the scenes, they were, and not everybody. This was like the minority of people, not the majority. But in front of the camera on the episode, they would act one way. Behind the scenes, they were just completely different. And you could tell like they didn't believe what they were saying, and they did not accomplish success in the way that they say they did. Mm-hmm. And we didn't release any of those episodes. So anybody you've heard on the show is aligned. And it got to the point, Melissa, where I literally started looking up people, and you can see a shift in people when they like start buying followers and buying views and that stuff. And it's just happening too much, where I don't want to have to research your entire life to figure out whether or not I want to perpetuate the message, really. And so we stopped, and we do 7 episodes a week, just solo now. It's just Alan and I. We decide on a topic that we think will be helpful for the listeners, and boom, we go deep and we talk about it. But we'll have guests on, but it'll be people that we know and people that we want to perpetuate the message. Really, that's what it is at the end of the day. I don't want to mislead our listeners. It's a big fear I've had. And we've had people on who said, the law of attraction. And yes, I understand there's such thing as law of attraction. There's ways to leverage that, but that's not the answer. That's not the complete answer. There's other things that go into that too.
Okay. Yeah, I get that. I think at the beginning, anyone that like reached out to my podcast, I was just like, yes, because it's like really excited and it's all new. But I think for the next season, I would be more picky. Like actually talk about things that interest me or like make sense to me. Because there are some people where I'm like, why did I do this interview? Yeah. I still published it anyways.
We've had those.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It happens. Like, because you don't know. Because when I get messages, right? So for people who are listening, like we met on Podmatch, I try to explain it to people as it's like a Tinder for Podmatcher or podcasters.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can tell if it's a generic statement that they probably just send to everybody, right? Because they're promoting something, which is fine. People got to promote. Or when someone's like genuinely interested. And I love those messages because it's like they actually went out and listened to an episode, or like they were excited because they're like, oh, you're the talkative introvert. That seems interesting. What is that?
It's different. So,
yeah, it's different. And I really like that vibe.
Well, you can tell too. It's like we were going to have somebody on one time. I think we were in the talks with like the fact that we were going to have them on. And they basically said, well, we can only talk so much about the book because I want people to go buy it. And it's like, no, not interested. I want to ask the questions I want to ask. That's why you're coming on. You're not coming on to promote. Yeah, it's got to be a win-win, obviously. But I want to ask the questions I want to ask. I don't have to worry about tiptoeing around the book and, I hope I don't reveal chapter 5. That's not fun. That's not a real conversation. It has to be a real conversation. And I think to your point, I mean, if you and I were talking on the bus, there might get to a point where you're like, I'm done with this. This isn't a valuable conversation. But there also might be a point in our conversation or any unique conversation where you say, wow, this is really good. This is really deep. I want to keep this going. And I think there's a little bit of pressure when you turn on the camera and the microphone and you say, all right, cool. You and I have an hour slot. Let's see what happens. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah. And I did talk to some guy, and he said that he doesn't even prep for it. He doesn't even like do, because I do introductions for early, like meet and greets, whatever you want to call it, first before I actually talk to somebody. But that's just because I have anxiety and I'm always nervous to talk to people. But like he just goes off, and when I did my podcast with him, like it was great. It was a great back and forth. Like he had something to promote, but we didn't really focus on it as much. It was just something like you plugged in later on. So when you, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what do you think if you didn't do a pre-call, what do you think would happen? You think it would be better or worse?
I was thinking of just doing that next year, like not even really prepping for it. It's just kind of rough because I guess I'm just building off of, your website or your profile. But I don't know. I kind of like the introduction just because like I get to figure out what you want to talk about. And because what I asked, which someone like pointed out, like they've never asked this before, but I like to ask people like, here, where's my notes? Because I still have my notes from last time. Oh, is there something you want to talk about that you haven't had a chance to share in other podcasts? And people like that question because I asked you the same question, and eventually we'll get to it. But they don't get asked that question because a lot of times they are promoting something. They're promoting the book, they're promoting their podcast, their business. And so they end up talking about that a lot. But there's more to them than just their business. And, what I like about certain like YouTubers and, I don't want to say influencers because I don't really like influencers. But knowing them personally gets me to want to look into their book or whatever, what have you.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. We never did pre-calls.
Okay.
It was very much, I'm going to research, and then that's kind of what I'm going to take from it. But we were also super focused on like a result. Like this person's really good at relationships. All right, cool. Let's be curious about relationships. This person's really good with money. So it's different because the last thing you want to do is on our show in our industry is have somebody that's really good at money come on, and then you talk about something that they have no idea about. And then, cats. I love cats. I am a huge cat dad. So I will talk about cats with anybody, but yeah, probably not somebody who's well-versed in finance.
Yeah. I think that makes sense for you guys, know, because you have a brand. Yeah. Whereas me, this is a hobby and I just like talking to people,
Well, that's your brand.
Introvert. Yeah.
Your brand, that's your brand is like, anything really could happen. We're going to talk about what's real, and we're going to talk about what Melissa wants to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. Well, back to that question though, because now that I read my notes, it's like actually something I wanted to talk to you about. So when we met the first time, we were talking about how like, you've grown so much and you've self-improved to the point where you feel like you can coach others or at least spread the message in your podcast. But you did say you said that although I'm confident, successful, the issues are still there and the fears are still there, but you're more aware of them. So like, can you expand on that? What do you mean by that?
I think that we see people who are quote unquote successful, again, whatever that means to you, whatever your definition of success is. And we assume that as they became successful, all of their problems, all of their fears, all of their insecurities, all of their scarcities, all of their traumas, limiting beliefs, that all went away. When in reality, some of them get worse because now the stakes are higher. Now there's further to fall. When you ask that question about what gives you the ability or what are the credentials that allows you to do that, there was a huge part of me that was like, I'm going to sound like an arrogant ass. And I'm afraid of that. That's one of my biggest fears, is for somebody to look at me and say, wow, what a dick. I'm so afraid of that. And there's definitely people that are going to. It's the statistics of it. It'll happen eventually. So I think that for me specifically, it might look like I'm confident. It might look like I have certain things figured out, but I'm still terrified of public speaking. I'm terrified of making mistakes, even though I have a pretty good relationship with it now. I'm super insecure when it comes to my height. I'm 5'4". Everybody I know is taller than I am. That's a huge insecurity of mine that I don't think is ever going to get quote unquote better based on the results I have. Right? That's all the inner work. When I'm on stage with my business partner, he's 6'2". So it's not close. I look like I could be his stepson. And so that part of it for me is difficult. So yeah, I think that Melissa, that was the part in my life that really stuck out, is when I made all the money, and again, that's in quotations, I assumed I'd feel really good about myself. And that just wasn't it. I had a lot of nice things, but I wasn't proud of me. I wasn't confident in me. So the point with that quote is really, your results are not going to fix the internal parts of you that you're not proud of or you're not confident in. That's like an inside job. That's something you're going to have to practice forever. And I think what happens is you look at people who have all the results and they have all the nice things, and you find out through the grapevine years later that they were struggling with mental health. And the reason they were struggling with mental health is because they probably thought all of that was going to fix it, and they weren't doing the tough inner work. So yeah, that was the goal with that quote.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think because it makes sense to me, because like I'm in a really good time of my life. I like the career that I'm in. I like the job that I do. I have a house and I have all the necessities. I don't have to worry about like not having electricity or food or what have you. So I am in a very good place in my life, and, have a great partner. But I still struggle internally all the time. Like you said, like body image, such a big thing that I think everybody, or most everybody, if not everybody, deals with. And but I still think I am, in a good place in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's just like everyday struggle.
I think it's the human experience.
Yeah.
I really do. I really think it's, if there is a human, I mean, again, it's personal and contextual. Everybody has their own things, but just because somebody has the results you want doesn't mean they don't have the limiting beliefs you don't.
So I know you don't do this anymore, but you said your partner coaches people still,
Yeah.
Right? So what is that like? Because, okay, so another of my skepticism. So when you were saying like what makes you qualified, it makes you feel like you're arrogant, and I kind of get that too. Like sometimes I don't talk about my life with other people, especially, for example, marriage things. I have a great relationship with my husband. We've been together for 15 years and, since high school. And I don't have the same issues as like some of my other couple friends, or, people have broken up and what they've had to deal with. Like my husband really is my best friend. So I try not to talk about him like with like single friends or friends who just came, just had a breakup or struggling or whatever. And I do feel a little arrogant sometimes. I refrain from talking about my life because I do feel like it's in a good place, but I also worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
I struggled to get here, and that's why coaching people to get there, I'm having a hard time seeing that, because I got to where I am, but I am who I am because I struggled, because I went through all this stuff. I worked hard. I put in the work. My, what's it called? Sweat and blood, tears into the things I do to get to where I am now. So what does coaching look like?
It's interesting. You can only coach somebody to the level of awareness that you have in that arena. So
okay,
it's very much, what are you struggling with? Right. And again, we know our clients at a deep level, so we kind of have an understanding of where's the trend line, what are the traumas, what are the things going on. But the ultimate goal is, okay, tell me what you're dealing with. I will use and again, I don't want to sound arrogant, which other things, I will use my higher awareness in the arena to help you get the result that you want. I'll use podcasting as an example. I statistically know more about podcasting than probably anybody else that you'll meet, most likely, just because I have 1,500 episodes under my belt between our show and other shows I've been on. Right. Most podcasts don't go on to become $1 million companies, and we're on pace for that in a couple of years. My awareness is probably higher. So I will say, okay, with my higher awareness, what are you missing that I can help you implement to get the results that you want? So that's really it in a nutshell. Is the reason most people don't have the results that they want in life is because they don't know how. They're missing the awareness. the problem, or they're not consistent, or they haven't been doing it long enough. The problem with a lot of people is, and you were humble enough and aware enough to admit this, you've put in the hard work. You didn't get lucky. It's not like you just got lucky. There's a lot of people out there, and this is probably why you're skeptical, and you should be, honestly, that get lucky in life or get lucky with something, and then they try to teach people how they achieve their success when they can't reverse engineer. They don't know how. I don't know. I post on social media every day and it worked. It's like, okay, well, that's not it. There's other things that go into that. Yeah. So again, in the simplest form, it's helping somebody figure out the level of awareness that they currently have, and then what's the level of awareness that you'll need to achieve that result. Now, but here's the thing. There are certain things that I can't coach you in. And I'll be very honest. There are certain things, I say this to parents all the time. I don't have any children. Now I can expand on my understanding of human interaction and social cues and the psychology I've studied. I can expand on that. I don't have the experience. I don't know. Right. I've never done it. So in fairness, you can really only coach to the things that you've practiced and you understand at a higher awareness than somebody else. So
you're kind of like sharing the lessons learned from your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. And that's kind of the thing is I have a lot of life experience in those things.
Yeah.
Right. But not being a parent. I'm a cat dad. I like to think I'm a world-class cat dad, but I've only been a cat dad for a year. I don't know. I've never had an older cat, right? It's just contextually, my strengths are directly connected to my level of awareness in certain things. Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. Like you're not just, casting in anyone that wants a coach can come in. It's really just people who are focused on something that that you know a lot of.
Yep. Yeah. I've said no to some people. Like I've said, no, I can't, that's not my expertise. That's not my specialty. If you want that, that's probably, you'd be better served going to somebody else. It's just not my thing.
And I think that's awesome because I think people, I can't speak for those people, but I'm sure there's people who just like accept clients just because it's bringing in the money, it's rolling in the money. But I like that you say no, to people.
Yeah. I really do. And again, I know everybody says it, but I really do want what's best for the people in the community. I mean, we don't do, I love podcasting, but we don't do 7 episodes a week because I love podcasting. We do it because we want to give the most amount of value to the community. And if somebody comes up with an 8th day, we'll do another episode. But that's not a thing that we do for us. That's what we do for the community. And that's the best way to help somebody is be there every day. That's why that's why we do it. Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Say somebody just got into, so you meet somebody who's 17 years old. Well, we'll say 21 years old. And they just met somebody that they feel like could be a really valuable, aligned partner for them. Mm-hmm. And they're new in relationships. They're both very new in relationships. Do you feel like you could coach them to a successful relationship?
That's hard because technically, since I've been with my husband since high school, I know nothing about adult dating. We met when we were 15. He asked me out or asked me to be his girlfriend in front of photo class. Like it's not, it's not like I met him at the bar, right. Like we went on a date. But I think I would do better as a coach if they were already in a relationship, or if they already feel like this is going to be a long-term relationship, because that I know of. Okay. We went through our struggles and we, worked through it, and I know that. But as far as like new, like honeymoon phase relationship, I don't know. That's a lot of emotions, a lot of, unknowns. And I don't know. I don't think I would be able to coach in that area.
I feel like you have, even the fact that you have the self-awareness to realize there are unknowns, I think you could do it.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
I have a lot of opinions.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, that's your style.
Yeah. I think this is really bad that I'm going to admit this, but sometimes my husband and I will bet on whether a relationship's going to last or not.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And we get it right
Same.
sometimes. Like,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
there
But I think,
are telltale signs. That's
yeah,
what, like, the
exactly.
awareness. That's what I'm saying is, think about this. This is a really good way to think about just everything, coaching, but everything. When
Mhm.
I was 16, 15 and a half, 16, whenever you can start legally driving, my mom taught me how to drive. Okay.
Okay.
Does that mean my mom is an excellent driver? No. It means my mom knows how to drive better than somebody who's never driven before. When you become a race car driver, you learn from people who have been driving race cars for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, whatever. The level of awareness and practice dictates the level of impact you can have on somebody's life. So the fact that you've been married for 15 years, I would say you're probably qualified, if we want to use that word lightly,
Yeah.
to help people that have only been married for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because you just have the compound effect of experience, practice, and hopefully deliberate practice where you're
Mhm.
trying to get better and better.
Okay. Well, thank you for
You're
that.
very welcome.
I will never be a coach.
That's
Sounds
okay.
way too much work. It's a
It's a
lot of
lot.
pressure. Do
It
you
is.
ever feel like there's a lot of pressure because you know what it's the how do I express this? Because do you tell your clients or does your partner tell your clients ahead of time that like, you know, the work depends on you? Because you could tell someone, you know, all kinds of stories, all kinds of like advice, but it really it's up to them to take it and to do something about it.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel pressured if your client doesn't make it or doesn't get the results that they want? Or, you know, do you have clients that like are upset that they don't get to where they want to be?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's hard because if, and I don't want this to sound bad, but if somebody had the awareness to understand what it was going to take, they wouldn't need us. So
Mm.
it's almost like the fact that I'm this way in other things too, but it's almost like you can't really be upset unless you're doing everything that you know you should be doing based on what you've learned in a
Right.
way. There's definitely a lot of pressure that comes with it, but I think you have to have the momentary check-ins of feedback where it's like, hey, you told me you wanted X result. I told you from my awareness and to the level that I've studied it, this is probably what it would take. You're not going to get the results based on the effort that you're putting in. We call it a vulnerable problem solver, where it's
Mm-hmm.
vulnerably, I want to share with you that I'm afraid we're not going to succeed together if we don't change some things. Now, if you don't want to change anything, that's completely fine. I'm just worried that we're not going to get the result that we both wanted in the beginning, and it's going to put some sort of wedge in our relationship. And that usually works really well because at least you're saying, look, I want us to win. If you don't want to win, that's okay. Or if you have changed what you want, that's okay too. I
Mm-hmm.
completely understand, but we just need to talk about it. So yeah, there's definitely a good amount of pressure. And there are definitely people who won't achieve what they want 100%. To your point originally, or in the beginning, I don't believe everyone can achieve whatever they want. I just
Right.
don't. I don't, because I think it's something that's wrapped up as an empowering belief, but I actually think it's disempowering because you set people up for failure if you say, well, you can accomplish anything that you want. There are
Mm-hmm.
certain things, Melissa, I'm 5'4". I'm probably not going to play in the NBA. That probably, statistically speaking, it's rare. I would have to get unreasonably good, better at basketball than somebody who's 6'5" because they already have certain attributes that I don't. So even to your point originally, there are certain people who won't win at the level that they want, but there are also certain people who will win way beyond the level that they believe. It all depends. There's just so much that goes into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what we talked about the motivational speaker and why I don't really agree with them.
Same.
You know, it's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
And to put a high schooler through that, man.
Well, what they're doing is they're optimizing for the amount of, it's almost like motivational speakers are optimizing for the amount of feelings that they can get. And if you go into a room and you say, you can do anything you want, that's going to speak to the vast majority of those humans. Where if I come in and I say, look, I know some of you want to be multimillionaires. Unfortunately, unless a lot of things shift, that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not, that's pulling the air out of the room, and
Very
people
depressing.
aren't going to necessarily invite me back. But It's hard. It's hard. There's a
Yeah.
fine line between giving too much truth and not giving
Mm-hmm.
enough truth. And how do you find that based on the amount of people you're talking to? We're going to give a speech in a couple of weeks to 1,100 students.
Oh,
And
okay.
in my mind, there's that of, okay, how much truth do you give? And there are 3 different grades. So how much truth do you give to this grade? How much truth do you, it's a balancing act that the only way to get right is to get wrong enough
Mm-hmm.
times to figure out how to get it right. So yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm terrified, of course.
Yeah, good luck.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So, have you ever had to give up on the person and just be like, "Hey, we got to end this relationship"? Like, not relationship, like romantic, but like with a client.
No, not really, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to actually figure out what they really want. A lot of people will tell you they want something, but I think that's because they think that's what you want to hear.
Mm.
And they're motivated to say, like, I'm going to want to do this. So no, I usually try to push them at the amount that they require to be pushed, or at the amount that they can actually be pushed. So I have some clients who I push really hard because they've told me they want that, and I believe they want that. There are other clients where I'm very hands off and they kind of come and go as they please, because I think that's probably what's best for them. I don't want to push them beyond what they actually want. So no, unless there's misaligned values. Now, there have been people who, when they come to me, it's like, yeah, I'll help you with your podcast or whatever it is. And then I'll see what they're doing and I'll say, honestly, that's not for me. I don't want to perpetuate that. So if there's core values or core beliefs or, core aspirations that are in conflict, that's the time we'll cut away. But the majority of the people we work with come through our community, and our community is a very aligned place. And I'm very grateful for that. So it doesn't happen often. Usually if it does, it's because the results they're getting are not aligned with what they ultimately wanted. The work is different than what they wanted, or the core values, core beliefs, or core aspirations are off a little bit.
Okay. That makes sense. And then to your point of like, they tell you what you want to hear kind of situation. So I think that's another problem I would have with coaching, is that it's kind of like a parent-child dynamic where you just want to say something to make your parents proud. Like, okay, good example. I went to dinner last night with my mom. My mom's diabetic and she has her blood sugar test tomorrow, and she's got to see her doctor. And so she's like, okay, I can't eat anything with sugar on it so that I can get good test results. And I'm thinking, why? You should just live your life normally so that you get the realistic, test results, right? But there's always this mindset that we have, and I don't know if you're like this too, but I've noticed it, in the past. We're like, okay, right before the dentist appointment, I gotta floss my teeth for like 2 weeks so that they're not like on me about it. But I'm like, as an adult, I'm like, you're not my mom. Like, why should I, be on my best behavior before a dentist appointment?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just something you should do regularly and whatever.
And we're afraid of feedback, I think. That level of feedback. It's like, I know I should do better. I haven't been. Let me do better today so you think I've been doing better. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's human. That's human behavior, because it's easy to spend money until you realize, oh no, I have to pay rent next week. And then you can see that pain point. It's like, oh my goodness, I have to change all my behavior. I think that's what it is. It's the delayed loop of your current behavior does not show up for months and years. And then when it does, you say, oh my goodness, what do I do to blanket this as quickly as humanly possible?
Yeah. So as a coach, like, how do you know if someone tells you what they want is really what they want versus what they're just telling you because they think that's what you want them to say?
I look at their behavior. It's very easy to say you want to be successful, but if you're, again, successful at the level that they say, but if you're not doing the things that we have determined are, between us, we said, hey, by this time next week, we'll do this. We're going to reach out to this many people. We're going to do whatever it is. After a certain amount of time, you start to tell, oh, okay, you said you wanted this until you realized what it was going to actually take. Let's realign. So I just look at behavior. I really do. It's very easy to talk about it. It's very easy to talk about things, but when it comes to the practice of it, if you're not showing up for yourself, that's how I know you don't actually want what you said you want, because it's not for me. I want you to win at the level you want to win. If you came to me and said, hey, I want to have a successful podcast, I would say, what does that mean to you? Not to me. I don't want you to do 7 episodes a week. Please don't. It's not good for you. It's probably not good for you. It's not aligned for you. But yeah, a lot of it has to do, and this is the interesting, important part. A lot of it has to do with the relationship you have with a coach. It has to be from a place of, look, you and I are humans first, and we have a connection. And it's not just the amount of money you're giving me. Like, the connection is, I want ultimately what's best for you, even if that means you not working with me anymore. Sometimes that's the case. Okay. I had a call with somebody yesterday, and they were interested in our services. And I said, honestly, don't do that one. I think that one's too expensive for where you are in your journey. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. And I don't want you to do that, because you know what's going to happen. And speaking of that, I do have to hop in a couple of minutes. You told me to tell you.
Right. Okay.
What's going to happen is, I know the results that you're most likely going to get. They're not in alignment with what you think. You think paying more will get you that result. It won't. I'm going to end up looking like the bad guy, and you're not going to like me. So why don't I just be honest up front, and we'll talk about it like real humans? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Transparency. We talk about this at work all the time. Transparency. It's very important. And then sometimes we aren't transparent, and then it goes awry. And then we have to go back to okay, what did we just say? Be transparent with each other.
Yeah.
Don't hide anything. It just makes things worse.
It does.
But yeah, so like you said, you got a few minutes left, but I wanted to give you a chance to, say any final words. If you have a general advice you tell everybody, and also where everyone can find you.
I would say focus on, again, it depends on what you want out of life. I'll preface it with that. Focus on your awareness. Try to learn more about yourself. Can that be painful at times? Absolutely. You're going to learn stuff about yourself that maybe you didn't want to learn. But I also think it's one of the most freeing things in the long run. So that's the advice I'd give to any human, honestly. And I always just say, listen to the podcast if you're interested. We're self-improvement in your pocket every day. That's us. I don't want to sell you anything. I don't want you to give me your money. If you are into self-improvement, we're there for you. And maybe we're your unique flavor. If I survive this interview well, maybe you'll listen to us and you'll like us.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you going on the podcast.
Likewise. I appreciate you having me. I like the challenge. It was wonderful. And I appreciate the fact that 2 people can have different opinions and still hang out and talk.
Thanks for making it to the end. If you enjoy what you hear and want to stay up to date on the show, please follow me on Facebook and or on Instagram. You can also check out my website at thetalkativeintrovertpodcast.com. All the information will be on there, as well as in the show notes. If you want to help support the show, please review and rate the podcast and share it with your friends and family. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.